All right, hello. My name is Evan Bales, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about the media that I consume on a daily basis. A little bit of background information about me. I'm a public relations student here at Ball State. I graduate in 2020. I am a junior. Particularly about the thing like studying about public relations is the way that the relationship between like our company or our entity and the public. I kind of like to study how those relationships grow and shrink and change, and I'm very interested in human behavior and pattern finding. And I also really enjoy just kind of learning about other cultures and backgrounds and trying to apply those to my own life. So I'm hoping that the media that I consume kind of reflects that. I try to be pretty worldly, see a lot of different things, try to hear a lot of different perspectives on things, and yeah, I'll try to elaborate as much as I can about those things. But the first thing I'll talk about is the media that I consumed both back in my childhood as well as what I do as an adult now. So growing up, I always watched the Disney Channel animated shows. I also enjoyed they had live action shows on there as well that would play. Disney Channel was kind of my after school go to because they always had some of the best like animated programs and stuff on after then, as well as SpongeBob SquarePants was a big influence growing up. I know a lot of people can quote SpongeBob, and these references are used a lot in just conversation between students my age because we all kind of understood and grew up on that on these. And the Cartoon Network also was another one of those stations that had a lot of shows that I like, similar to Disney Channel. And I don't know, I really enjoyed all the animated shows and characters and things like that. But now that I'm older, I did my requirements for entertainment have changed. There are things I look for in entertainment now that I didn't when I was a kid. So the first one I've kind of picked up is I really like to learn. And so I've become a big fan of Netflix and Hulu documentaries. I try to watch as many as I can get my hands on because I really enjoy learning about the world around me, what goes on within it, different phenomenon. Um, those interests range from things like planet Earth to conspiracy things to studies to just all the different things that documentaries can encompass. I really just kind of like to learn and absorb as much as I can. I also enjoy specifically John Oliver. I'm not a huge fan of like the late night comedian rounds because I think that it's very like politically centered and not necessarily not politically centered in the way that is intelligent. And I think John Oliver does a good job of being not necessarily unbiased, but he does a good job of explaining things thoroughly and in simple terms that somebody like me can understand. It makes politics and things a little bit more digestible, and he does a lot of very interesting segments, so I get to learn a lot from him as well. And then finally, the last show that I really love, and it's kind of influenced me a little bit, but not really, and I've kind of been sharing it with everybody, is the show Atlanta. Um, I had found Atlanta about a year after it came out, and if you don't know, the plot is basically there's a rapper and his a cousin who's his manager, and it kind of goes through the ins and outs of living in poverty as well, not in poverty, but living under poverty conditions. The show is set in like urban Atlanta, so you get to kind of be and see like some of the cities, locations. It's very true to Atlanta as well, which is really neat. But I really enjoy the show for its commentary on image and its commentary on fulfilling expectations and stereotypes and things like that that other people set for you in this world. And I just find the show is very well done. The show is very interesting, and it says a lot of very interesting things about culture, specifically African American culture in the United States, because it's something that I don't necessarily have a ton of experience with or understand, being from a pretty rural area. I never was really exposed to this kind of difference of perspective, but it is kind of cool to see things acted out through the show. So social media I use primarily Twitter. Twitter is where I get a lot of my information. Ashamedly, it's where I get a lot of my news as well, but Twitter is good for a lot of different things. I can be really in love with Twitter for a day. I could hate Twitter for a day. It just kind of changes. Instagram is another social media that I use pretty often. And Instagram is nice because it's a little less tech-centric and more about photos and images, so I kind of enjoy the aesthetic part of Instagram as well. I use Reddit to just kind of find jokes and memes and videos and things that I enjoy, just like general entertainment. And then I use Snapchat pretty often just as a communication tool, as well as social media. I like looking through the stories sometimes. I enjoy keeping up with what my friends are doing during the day, so Snapchat is kind of good for that as well. So favorites, I enjoy, as far as music goes, I enjoy music of all genres. I can enjoy any sort of music because I feel like it takes talent to make music, and I think it's important to appreciate talent, especially if it's art, like true and artistic. And so that's what draws me specifically to the hip hop and rap genre, because a lot of that that genre is kind of talking about overcoming circumstances, situations, and I like that it also kind of explores the sad reality that sometimes like you got to do things that are not necessarily like the most beneficial or smart, but you have to do them to kind of make sure everything is okay. And I just really enjoy the storytelling aspect of hip hop. I enjoy the music, and just I don't know. I just really I find myself deeply immersed into not necessarily the culture, but just kind of what goes on within it. And yeah, so pretty big. Hip hop is also the biggest genre in the world right now. So, I mean, it's not super unique to be into hip hop, but I do enjoy it, and I do enjoy kind of learning through those experiences. As far as film and TV goes, I tend towards either comedies or documentaries. I don't watch a ton of movies because I just kind of think that they're all really similar. But comedies are good, and documentaries are good because comedies, I think, being funny is hard, and it takes creativity and wit, and I think it's really fun to see a movie that is like genuinely hilarious and that you identify with the humor. I also like documentaries because I like it says here, I like to laugh and learn. I also like educational TV shows as well as like TV comedies. So I watch just different like sitcom things that are on TV. I use Hulu and Netflix a lot to watch television as well. So yeah, and then favorite quote is actually a quote from one of my bosses here, and it was kind of a silly quote, and he's one of those people who is he's not super like emotionally like there, and he doesn't always like have the right words to say at the right time. But for some reason we were talking about about me, advancing in my field, and just kind of having a good talk about it, and it weirdly enough to get a confirmation of saying like chances are you're better than average is to me feels like a compliment, because I want to be above average in the things that I do, and I strive for that, and I try to have everything reflect in that in like my actions. So just kind of being recognized for that a little bit is cool, and to come from somebody like Alex, it was just really neat. It was a really good moment. And then inspirations, I have a lot of inspirations. I'll just kind of start over here with celebrity. I really like celebrities who try to break into other mediums, try to be as creative as possible, and I don't think anybody has exemplified that more recently than like Donald Glover, being comedians on Community, and then he puts out his music, and then gets into film, gets into television with Atlanta, and I've just enjoyed seeing how artistic he is, kind of spread across all the mediums. So I'm inspired by people who can find ways to communicate and create and spread messages and things like that kind of through all different mediums. And so I really enjoy Donald Glover for that. I'm also inspired by these two dudes over here. They are my absolute best friends here. I'm a tour guide here. They're also tour guides. We've all grown to be really close, and these are two of the strongest, like most hardworking dudes I've ever met in my life, and they kind of keep me inspired and keep me working. And finally, this bottom group right here, there's me right here in the corner. So this is my fraternity that I'm in, and while I don't necessarily love the whole like Greek life aesthetic and everything, I really am inspired by my brothers who I work with, who I see do a lot of great work in class and out of class. I'm inspired by the feeling of brotherhood and the feeling of care that I get from working with these people. So I just really appreciate. We're all, and the fraternity itself is very nice. We're very inclusive. We try to be. We recruit everybody. We don't discriminate based off of past, or if you don't fit the mold of a stereotypical Greek person. We believe that anybody can truly be a good man, and I get inspired by that a lot. I also like to say I'm inspired by just people around me who are growing and changing. College is a weird time for a lot of people, a time where you're going to have to learn a lot about yourself. And so I guess I'm just inspired by the people I'm around. Seeing people advance and do well, it makes me want to do well as well. So I guess I'm inspired by that. But yeah, as far as the media goes, that's kind of all I have to share. And I hope you've enjoyed kind of learning a little bit about me and what I like to consume. And yeah, thank you.